Welcome to Looking at Legal Stuff. Today we have a quick clip of a hearing for a consent judgment in the eviction of an adult college graduate son from the family home. He has entered into a consent judgment to move at the end of the month, but he feels that because his parents have abused him and all his problems and failures are their fault, that should be some sort of defense to this eviction. Let's see what the judge thinks.
Thank you. Court does call the case. Robert Groden versus David Groden.
Yeah, you have a consent order in front of you, drafted by Joshua Fink, executed by Mr. Groden. He asked me if he could address the court.
Yes, sir.
Hi, Your Honor. So I signed a conditional dismissal to vacate my parents' house by the end of January. I just wanted to write you a letter. I'd like to kind of make the case to you.
All right, you'll have to speak up, but go ahead.
I've had a difficult relationship with my parents for a long time. People can influence others to various degrees, especially within a parent-child dynamic. I once had a supportive dynamic with my mother before we moved, and she started to struggle with serious depression in and out of inpatient for most of my high school years. Once my mom was depressed, my dad took over. My dad is extremely dominant person. It could be quite aggressive. He set a dynamic up of intimidation and dominance, emotional violence, and extreme emotional abuse and control. I do believe that this sort of behavior precipitated my mother's serious depressive episode. I immediately started struggling with anxiety and depression and underperformed in school. Prior to that, I was an exceptional student. I believed he abused his position of power over me and took advantage of my vulnerability during that period and exerted a damaging degree of control over me that was emotionally abusive. I had a serious relationship during college that helped me realize the negative influence that this has had in my life path. I've been at the house after graduation to try to rebuild my life in a different direction. I've dealt with torment on a daily basis, threats of eviction without process, attempts to skirt the law in order to throw me out, including him assaulting me. Now, I understand there isn't much legal precedent for my side of these types of cases, but I can't see how I can get away with this. I'm trying to rebuild my life, staying at the house while I do so. I sought legal counsel, but I largely don't have a legal basis to fight this eviction. The two lawyers I found willing to represent me, I can't afford. I've asked my parents to consider mediation. They dug in and accused my framework of being evidence of mental illness with no diagnosis. Obviously, it's difficult to ask people in power to recognize their faults. I've sought out different legal representation, but especially given the holidays, it's been slow to find an attorney. To be clear, I don't have a diagnosis besides a degree of anxiety, mostly from the situation. I've also proposed paying rent, which they've rejected. This is really nothing more than a power play consistent with our dynamic. My parents have agreed to a conditional dismissal if I leave by the end of January, but given the perspective outlined above, I really don't believe this is fair. I hope you may consider granting me an adjournment so I can continue to try to build a case and seek mediation and come to an agreement with my parents.
Let me just stop you there.
Yeah.
Do you not want me to enter this conditional order of dismissal? I mean, you signed it, correct?
I did, Your Honor. I understand the ramifications of an eviction on my record, and it wasn't clear to me if I could be able to make a case today.
Say that again?
I wasn't sure if I'd be able to make a case today, and I understand the ramifications of eviction on my record.
Hold it. Yeah, man. You signed this today.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah, he both signed it here today and he emailed a signed copy to our office before I showed up with that hard copy. And I'll also just point out to the court and Mr. Groden, and I don't care whether he makes a statement, but there is no triable issue. He was given a notice to quit. The time period has passed. He has no lease. He has no right to possession And actually, the notice to quit was just done as a precaution. So there's no triable issue. The alternative would be 10 days.
What do you want me to do?
I'd like a judgment to try to, I don't know if this is possible, I'd like to try to seek mediation.
Okay, but you don't have a lease at the premises, correct?
Just a month by month tenancy lease.
Okay. You're given notice to move.
Yes.
What would then happen is that's the alternatives. There are a few alternatives here. One, there could be a judgment entered. One, I could set it for trial if there's something for me to try, even. Or the alternative is a conditional order of dismissal. All right. If you want to hold a trial on it, then I have to make an assessment as to whether or not there's even anything that I could try, anything that I would have to make a finding on. Okay. So everything that you just said to me about your relationship with your parents and all of that, let's assume we went to trial and I found all of that to be true. And again, just assuming that to be the case, because I don't know. But if I listen to all the testimony and I make a finding that everything you're saying is true, I'm still would grant them a judgment on this issue of possession because it doesn't relate to your tenants. It may relate to your family dynamic. I don't have any doubt about that, but it doesn't relate to the tenancy here. Now, just so that you fully understand, if I make that determination, because right now I see nothing that I could try, nothing that you could call witnesses on that's going to make a bit of difference as to the possession issue. So right now, as we are sitting here today, what you have is I would make the finding in accordance with law that there's no tribal issue. I'd issue a judgment. If I issued that judgment, number one, you'd have a judgment on your record. Number two, it would be 10 days. But because of the holiday, you get to the 16th. The conditional order dismissal, which it seems to me that you had notice of, send it back to them. It comes in here, you sign it again, gives you to the 31st.
Understood.
So you need, if you don't want me to sign this conditional order dismissal, I won't sign it. But you need to tell me what you want me to do. I can make a finding right now on this case. Or I can sign this conditional order dismissal if that's what you want me to do. I'm leaving it to you. What do you want me to do?
Can I ask a follow-up? Is there any case on a basis of torts law, damage done to me by the parent-child dynamic?
Say that last part.
Would there be any basis for a case through torts or personal injury case as it relates to this eviction? Eviction being damages for
what personal injury?
I mean, obviously, the missed opportunity certainly as a result of the dynamic, the mental health issues mostly in high school as a result of the dynamic.
Okay, young man, look. If you're looking to use this case either to receive some type of compensation or something regarding how you perceive your parents may have treated you, or to somehow believe that this court has some power to rectify all of that in some way. That can't happen here.
We'll go with the conditional dismissal. That's okay.
Pardon?
I'll accept the conditional dismissal.
You understand that the terms of the conditional dismissal are that you would vacate the premises by January 31st.
Yes.
And that you would not, if you haven't vacated the premises by that date, that they could seek an order without notice. They could seek the entry of a judgment and an order of eviction to have you removed from the premises.
Yes.
You understand that? All right. And you also understand your rights to 3-day rescission that was explained to you and is contained in here. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Do you have any questions whatsoever regarding anything contained in this conditional order to dismiss?
No.
This file is conditionally dismissed. You can stop out at the front counter and pick up a copy. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.